Hi, everybody. I'm Patrick Cody with Okemo Valley TV, and I am joined once again by our friend Kelly Stetner of the Black River Action Team. Hello, Kelly. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. It's good to be with you.
Yeah, so we're doing this remotely, as you folks might be able to tell. I know that there's a lot going on with the flood, the recovery from the big devastating flood, and you with your volunteer organization, Black River Action Team, have been front and center doing a lot of work. Yeah, I know last time we talked to you, Rebecca from our staff talked to you a couple weeks ago, right after the flood, and now that we're a couple weeks later, I want to talk. What have you been doing with BRAT, the Black River Action Team, and your crew of volunteers?
Uh, Good question. Huge question. So pretty much everything went into flood relief mode as soon as it became obvious that any towns above the North Springfield flood control dam were in trouble. And out of nowhere came Lori Marichaux and Melissa Rockhill, two wonderful retired ladies, one from Plymouth and the other from Ludlow. And they have sailed right to the rescue because, as you mentioned, I work full time. So I could not have done any of what I'm about to tell you without the two of them. I networked with Carol at the Chamber, and we tried looping in Mariel from the Okemo Mountain School for a little bit there. And the Chamber was able to funnel volunteers to us via email, and Mariel was able to reach out to a lot of the folks she knows in the community for either plugging volunteers in or people who needed some help. We set up me and Lori and, and Melissa. We tease, we keep calling her Michelle. That's her other name, her secret agent name. We were setting up on the gazebo, at the gazebo on the town green in Veterans Park, 2 Sundays in a row. And basically we were able to, with the help of another wonderful lady, she was able to get donations of items from Home Depot in Rutland twice. They shipped down rakes and square shovels and wheelbarrows and push brooms and other kinds of rakes. And oh my goodness, we've had donations of items and stuff and tools, equipment. When I say stuff, I mean tools, equipment. One of the churches was able to donate buckets of cleaning materials. We got gloves, we got masks. Volunteers were bringing masks that they had extras of. And between Melissa and Lori and I, and the Chamber feeding in and Mariel feeding in, we fielded over 300 volunteers in the last 2 weeks. Brought them in, got their information. Melissa built the Google spreadsheet from beyond. This thing can handle everybody. It'll tell her and Lori when they're available, how to get a hold of them, if they have equipment, if they have preferences as to the kind of labor they're able to do. And then we can connect those guys up with the projects. There's a whole tab of clients, people who need some help. So we've been pretty much running gangbusters since last Saturday, not this past Saturday, but the one before that. And then by email, they've been able to connect volunteers. We're calling this crew the Mud Puppies because the bulk of what we're doing is shoveling mud and mud soaked things.
You are the Black River Action Team. That is your
Yes.
organization. You started it, I want to say, over 20, how many years ago?
I started it in 2000, so 23 years.
Tell me how you chose what your focus and where the needs were and what your focus was going to be.
Yeah, because the Black River is really, I mean, you think of the river and you think of, depending on the town you're in, you think of the big body of water that runs through the center of your town. But where I'm at, I'm thinking 202 square miles of watershed, of anywhere where the rain hits and it flows downhill and sheds into the river, whether that's through 20-mile stream, tiny brook, Buffalo Brook. There's other ones down in Springfield. There's others in Cavendish and Proctorsville and Reading. So you've got the North Branch. You're talking Stoughton Pond. You're talking the North Springfield Reservoir Lake, the flood control lake, the Knapp Ponds and Knapp Brook, all of that whole area. So it was a matter of reaching out to, just using social media was amazing. Just reaching out to all the different community pages to say, hey, this is what we're going to do. We can help with mucking out your basement. We can help move items out of your flooded areas. We can pull up yucky carpeting that has gotten soaked or wet. We tried to keep it fairly limited to the point where we're not going to really, rip out your walls or anything. Make sure you spoke to your homeowner's insurance. Make sure you spoke to FEMA. Make sure you're following all the steps you need to do. Register with 211, I think it is.
So your
And
crew of volunteers, the 300 or so volunteers that you're talking about, you're basically deploying them right now to help homeowners and residents who have
yes,
been affected within the watershed.
yeah, they don't have to be right on the shoreline. The folks on the lakes up on Route 100, I mean, Amherst Echo Rescue and Pauline, aka the Reservoir Pond, those are all formed by the Black River. So they're lakes, yes, they're big, wide, deep sections of the river, but that river just keeps on flowing. So what you get in Amherst is going to flow down into Echo, going to flow down into Rescue, keep on going. We all live downstream, so to speak. So yeah, if you live within that watershed and the water around you has caused problems in your home, depending on what it is, we're trying now to steer folks. It's been 2 weeks now, trying to steer folks who have mold issues toward resources that can help make sure that the people are healthy and safe, but then to do proper professional remediation of mold within the home. I don't want to put volunteers at unnecessary risk, but I also want to make sure that the homeowner's getting what they need for mold.
So are you finding that people just stepped up and they're willing to help out? And how did this compare? I know I did some work with you, volunteer work back after Irene. And I know, it seems like deja vu all over again. Here we are once again, but how is it different? How does this compare in your experience to back in 2011?
I think there's a few differences for me. One was that with Irene, we kind of all saw something was coming. Okay, we're gonna batten down hatches just in case, or nah, it'll be fine. I'll leave my boat out. Oh geez, maybe I shouldn't have. But you kind of could see this storm system tracking up. You kind of knew something was coming. And excuse me, with this, it was sort of rain. Oh brother, again. Okay, more rain. Yeah, again. More rain. Oh yeah,
6 weeks of it, really.
Yeah, and the rain had nowhere to go. It couldn't soak in anymore. It just grabbed what it could when it ran over the land, caught up with more water, got bigger and bigger, and it 9 inches of rain, and I don't even know how many hours in some areas, more in some areas. It was it was coming. We all knew it was raining, but this particular tipping point for us, this straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, was took a lot of people by surprise. But in terms of response, I know with Irene, I had planned my annual river cleanup. The big river sweep was planned for the Saturday after Labor Day weekend. We do it every time. And so I had that planned, and then Irene came through, and I'm thinking, yeah, well, the water's a little brown. It'll be fine in a couple of weeks. Well, it wasn't fine in a couple of weeks, but I had all those weeks to prepare and plan. I had my equipment. We did some we did some mud mucking out on our cleanup day, but there wasn't the system in place like we have this time, thanks to Melissa and Lori, to maintain the volunteer effort like 2 weeks past the event. So last time when Irene hit, it was kind of like, okay, one and done. I made sure to work with the town, work with Red Cross, work with the state, make sure we weren't gonna, I didn't want volunteers adding to the rescue problems. So, we did what we could within town, within reason, and then we stepped back and let relief take over. But the response we've gotten from this was local people who want to just keep coming back. The out of town folks, the remote folks, the second homeowners, up to their knees in mud. They were like, what can I bring? What can I do? Can I come back next weekend? Point me to the wheelbarrow. I'm all over this. And they are in it for the long haul. They love this community. It's been amazing to see the outpouring and the range of people from all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk water quality. I know a big part of the work that you do, again, with volunteers and you do it annually, is the water sampling at the local swimming spots and swimming holes. So I know you got your finger on the pulse probably as close as anybody in terms of how bad is it right now? And
Yeah.
but from your perspective, what are some things that folks should be aware of from a recreational and a public health standpoint?
Good idea. Good thing. I'll try to remember all my little bullet points that are floating around my head. Um, so we've been doing this since 2012, and we grew from 11 river and stream sites to now we do 50 river and stream sites every 2 weeks from the end of April through the beginning of August. And we also do 6 swimming holes, and those are weekly. Those are tested for bacteria. The river and stream sites are not tested for bacteria. Those are nutrients that the plants might need, chloride, which could be affected by road salts, that sort of thing, and then other related parameters that are based on what's dissolved in the water.
But you
Not
said there's 50 sites that you test on a regular basis throughout the whole season. And so those are fishing spots as well as swimming holes. And
Yep. There's also 8 lakes and ponds that we test with the state, and that's they want 8 samples throughout the whole summer, so that's like every other week between Memorial Day and Labor Day. And once the storm hit, we're talking what, July 10th, that week, I told everybody, don't sample your water, don't go out. It's not.
you just knew it was bad.
Yeah, it's probably not safe. Don't do it. And the other thing is, even if you're thinking, yeah, I can still do it, the flood just happened, so that all the data, all the results are going to be right through the roof. It's not going to really be a good. What we're trying to get is baseline information. What does this stream, lake, pond, or river segment look like normally? Over the course of a summer or 2 or 3 years of sampling. And if we see a chronic high number of something, that's when I bring it to the state, and they might say, well, why don't you collect samples next year and you bring them to the lab, the state lab, and then we'll do some more looking, and then the state kind of takes a look from there. And we've had a couple of sites that have gone up to the lab, and most of our sites are what I call pre-screening sites. We send, I think, 14 up to the lab of those 50. But as for lakes and ponds and the recreational spots, I would highly recommend that until you can see it, until you can see the bottom, until it's nice and clear, don't risk it. You Even if bacteria numbers look good, we do post bacteria charts, and I know Lake Rescue Association had some bacteria samples done recently. So even if the bacteria levels look good, the bacteria numbers are really an indicator. If bacteria levels are high, it can indicate that there may be other things in that water that could make you sick, give you a urinary tract infection, staph infection, skin rash. It's safer to avoid it when it's cloudy, because you don't know what's actually in that water, what's washed in and from where. And the other reason is just physical safety, because stuff washed in, big stuff washed in. Everybody saw the video of the car in Ludlow going under the bridge. It could be car parts, it could be fencing, it could be roofing, it could be siding from a trailer, it could be lawn furniture. You jump in the water, or you're just paddling along and you strafe your leg on something and the water's not in great condition, you could open yourself up to a nice little infection. So I would, I think the state's advisory is fishing, don't eat the fish. So it's just not worth it. You could hurt your boat out there too if you snag your propeller on something, someone's dock or something, submerged ropes, or who knows what's out there. So I would just say pause on it. I know Lake Rescue is going to be trying to do some cleanup. I think that's where you were going next, was what's next for us. Yes.
You anticipated that very well. Yeah, I want to know what the needs are right now, and what are you looking for in terms of volunteer help, and do you need more volunteers?
I've made this comment a few times when we crested 200 volunteers. I said, it's overwhelming, but having too many volunteers is a good problem.
Absolutely.
So lots of folks are interested in what's next beyond dealing with shoveling mud. Sorry. And so my next phase of things is to start looking at shorelines. I don't want to get on the water if I can help it right away, but I want to start working at the bottom of Lake Pauline with crews on the land on either bank, and we're going to try to work our way down. I'm working with landowners that abut the river for what I'm calling extraction points. So we'll work our way down, and as we find stuff, I'm not going to deal with organic debris, trees, branches. I'm just going to let that be. Nature will do what nature needs to do. But when we find, canoes, boats, floaties, pool noodles, docks, pieces of human debris, stuff that human belongings, we're going to try to extract it out to the road or a parking lot or a driveway, and then I'll be working with people who can come with their trucks to get it. And if it's salvageable, we're going to try to keep an inventory and reach out to people, homeowners who might have lost something, so that the rightful owners can reclaim those. And as for lake rescue, we're going to try to work with the Lake Rescue Association on a good volunteer day that works for most of the folks on the lake, to do a very careful, using drone footage, careful and targeted retrieval of personal items. And we just need a good staging area. We need some trucks to haul. The junk stuff's going to have to go to the transfer station. But if I'm hoping that a lot of landowners and Lake Rescue Association members will participate, so that they can be like, yes, that's my canoe. I've been looking for that. I don't want to put volunteers in danger. Mm-hmm. So volunteers for some lugging, hauling, scouting down the riverbanks. Be prepared for some poison ivy and maybe do some really thorough tick checks. But I'd be thrilled to have some volunteers for that too.
Anybody looking to volunteer, what should they do?
Actually, what works great for me is if you email me directly, because then if you just want to do, well, I don't want to do cleanups, but I'm interested in this water monitoring, then I can hang on to that and talk with you about that. But if you're interested in the cleanups, I can loop in Lori and Melissa. It's Black River Cleanup at Gmail.
Right.
And if people don't have, I don't know many people who are more Wilma Flintstone than I am and don't have email, but if phone works better for people, you can leave your contact information at my Google voicemail. Mm-hmm. And that is 802-738-0456.
Well, I do not believe Wilma Flintstone had a Google number. I'm quite certain she did.
I know.
You're a leg up there. Well, great, Kelly. Would love to have you on again, because I know there'll be more information to share. I don't want to take up any more of your time this time around and exhaust you, because you are needed in other places.
You're going to be processing water samples all night.
Yeah. Oh, is that what you're doing tonight? Yeah. Well,
mm-hmm. So I'm out in my fancy workshop. That would be nice to see things starting to move through the system and dissipate out.
But for the most part, when in doubt, as you were saying earlier, if you see that the water is looking milky or murky, you should stay out.
Yep. Just be on the safe side. If you're got river shoes on and you're wading, and don't let your animals drink it. That's the other thing too, because all this flood water, it didn't just bring dirt down, and it's not just mud. That reminds me. It flowed through people's basements. It flowed through and took their leach fields. It flowed through their, the service station, garages. So you're talking like machine oils and, cans of paint, diesel fuel. Just don't let your dogs drink out of it if you're going for a walk. If folks do find themselves, for some reason, there was a report of somebody out on Echo Lake for some reason in his small boat, and he got out. This was after the flood. I think he just wanted to recon and see what things looked like. I'm not sure if he was looking for something. But he hopped out at what used to be a sandbar at the mouth of Buffalo Brook, and he sunk right up to his knees. It is very fine sediment out there. It's going to take a long time for that to settle out of it. It's lightweight. It's wicked fine. So it's just going to take a while to settle down through the water to the bottom or over to the sides. And in the meantime, it's like quicksand in places. So I would say just don't step out onto the sediment. Don't step out onto the muddy shoreline if you can avoid it, or just make sure you're holding onto something and have a buddy with you. Wear your life vest, or have a whistle.
And don't get out onto the water.
Don't get out. Yeah.
Not yet.
I think those were the big caveats, the big warnings. There are people out there hitting the lakes, and they're letting their kids swim, and it's happening in Springfield. I mean, right 2 days after the storm, the Connecticut River was way up, and it was backing up the Black River. There was just lived up to its name. It was just mud down at the boat landing here in Springfield, and there were people waiting, and I could swear in the corner of the picture there might have been a kid swimming. No, 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 no. Just be on the safe side and avoid it.
Yeah.
Avoid it. And reach out to your neighbors. You know, folks are still reeling from this, I think, and struggling with maybe not the loss of animals or pets, but you know, the loss of part of their home, the loss of belongings, family photos that they store in the basement, like some of us probably shouldn't. Just reach out to neighbors and have a little extra support for folks. Support your local businesses. Lend a helping hand. Offer a smile. Goes a long way.
Well, thank you for leaving us with that message of hope and promise and resiliency. Because I think this community will once again show that it can get through this, and thanks to your efforts for helping accelerate that. I honestly think, I mean, it's huge, and I hope that people who want to get involved will get involved. And I know I'd love to have you back when your time allows.
There's so many great organizations. I can't even begin to give a hat tip out to the Cavendish Baptist Church, to the
Right.
community center. Otis Nelson, I don't think he's got Energizer bunny batteries in him or something. Just
Yeah.
so many groups, and groups from out of state came up to help with mold remediation. It was a huge effort, well beyond just the brat. But I'm really glad to have been part of it, and I'm excited that we're continuing. So I'm looking forward to keeping up the partnerships.
All right. Well, thanks again, Kelly, and we'll catch you soon.
That sounds great. Thank you, Patrick. Have a
Okay.
great night.
Stay high and dry.
You bet.